Have you ever noticed someone in your group who never asks to be the leader, never fights for the spotlight, yet somehow everyone naturally turns to them when decisions need to be made? If you're thinking, that's me right now, there's a good chance you're an INFJ. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating paradoxes in personality psychology, why INFJs, the rarest personality type, consistently find themselves in leadership roles they never actually sought out. This isn't just about being bossy or taking charge. It's about something much more subtle and powerful. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why INFJs have this magnetic pull that draws people toward their guidance, even when they're trying their hardest to stay in the background. The INFJ paradox. Leading without trying. Let's start with the basics. INFJs make up only 1 to 3% of the population, making them the rarest of all 16 Myers-Briggs personality types. They're introverts who prefer deep conversations over small talk, intuitive thinkers who see patterns others miss, feeling-oriented people who make decisions with their hearts, and judgers who like structure and closure. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Most leadership theories focus on extroverted, assertive personalities, the classic alpha types who command attention and take charge. But INFJs? They're the quiet ones sitting in the corner, observing everything, saying little. Yet time and time again, they end up being the ones people look to for direction. This happens because INFJs possess a unique combination of traits that create what I like to call accidental leadership. They don't chase power or authority, but their natural abilities create a gravitational pull that draws others toward their guidance. It's like they're leadership magnets, attracting followers without even trying. The foundation, understanding people at a deep level. One of the biggest reasons INFJs become natural leaders lies in their incredible ability to understand people. This isn't just surface-level people reading, we're talking about deep, intuitive understanding that goes straight to the core of what makes someone tick. INFJs have this almost supernatural ability to see through facades and get to the heart of what people really need. They pick up on subtle emotional cues that others miss completely. When Sarah in accounting is having a rough day, the INFJ notices the slight change in her posture, the way her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes, the small sigh she lets out when she thinks no one's listening. This deep understanding creates trust. People feel seen and heard around INFJs in ways they don't experience with others. It's not uncommon for someone to say, "I don't know what it is about you, but I feel like I can tell you anything." This trust becomes the foundation of their leadership influence. But here's the thing, INFJs aren't trying to be therapists or counselors to everyone. They just naturally notice these things because their brains are wired to pick up on patterns and possibilities, especially when it comes to human behavior. They can't help but see the bigger picture of what's really going on beneath the surface. The vision factor, seeing what others can't. Another major factor in INFJ leadership is their ability to see possibilities and potential that others completely miss. While most people focus on what's happening right now, INFJs are naturally looking ahead, seeing how current situations might unfold and what could be possible if things were done differently. This visionary quality isn't about having mystical powers, it's about pattern recognition on steroids. INFJs take in massive amounts of information about people, situations, and environments, then their intuitive function connects dots that others don't even see as dots yet. In group settings, this often plays out as the INFJ being the one who says, "What if we tried this instead?" Or, "I think there might be a better way to approach this." They're not trying to take over or show off. They genuinely see a path forward that could work better for everyone involved. People start paying attention because INFJ insights often turn out to be remarkably accurate. Team members begin coming to them for advice, asking for their input on decisions, and seeking their perspective on complex situations. Before they know it, the INFJ has become the unofficial consultant everyone turns to. The reluctant leader, why INFJs resist taking charge. Here's where the paradox gets even more interesting. Despite having natural leadership abilities, most INFJs actively resist taking on official leadership roles. They're not drawn to the spotlight, don't enjoy being the center of attention, and often feel uncomfortable with the idea of having authority over others. This resistance comes from several sources. First, INFJs are deeply empathetic. which means they feel the weight of responsibility for others' well-being very intensely. The thought of making decisions that could negatively impact someone else is genuinely distressing for them. Second, they prefer to influence through inspiration rather than authority. INFJs believe that the best outcomes happen when people choose to follow a vision because they believe in it, not because someone with a title told them to. They'd rather plant seeds of ideas and watch them grow organically than force compliance through hierarchy. Third, many INFJs struggle with imposter syndrome. Despite their abilities, they often doubt themselves and worry that they're not qualified or experienced enough to lead others. They see all the things they don't know and assume everyone else is more capable. Finally, INFJs value harmony and hate conflict. Traditional leadership often involves making tough decisions that not everyone will like, having difficult conversations, and dealing with pushback. For peace-loving INFJs, these aspects of leadership can feel overwhelming and stressful. The magnetic pull: how INFJs attract followers. So if INFJs don't want to lead, why do people keep following them? The answer lies in the unique way they interact with others and approach problems. INFJs have this rare combination of being both deeply caring and incredibly insightful. When they offer advice or suggestions, people can sense that it's coming from a place of genuine concern for their well-being, not from ego or personal agenda. This authentic care creates a magnetic quality that draws people in. They also have a gift for seeing potential in others that those people might not see in themselves. An INFJ might notice that the quiet team member has brilliant ideas but lacks confidence to share them, or that someone who seems scattered actually has great organizational skills that just need the right outlet. This ability to see and nurture potential makes people feel valued and understood in a way they rarely experience elsewhere. It's like having someone believe in you before you even believe in yourself. Naturally, people want to stay close to that kind of positive influence. Another factor is the INFJ's approach to problem solving. Instead of jumping to quick fixes or surface-level solutions, they take time to understand the root causes of issues. They ask thoughtful questions, listen carefully to different perspectives, and consider long-term implications before suggesting courses of action. This thorough, thoughtful approach often leads to better outcomes, which builds credibility over time. People start thinking, when we do things the way they suggest, things actually work out better. This track record of good judgment naturally leads to more people seeking their input and guidance. The gentle influence, leading through inspiration. INFJs have mastered what might be called soft leadership, influencing others through inspiration, modeling, and creating environments where people want to contribute their best efforts. This style is incredibly effective, even though it doesn't look like traditional leadership. Rather than giving direct commands or setting rigid rules, INFJs tend to share their vision in ways that help others see the possibilities for themselves. They might say something like, "I've been thinking about how we could make this process work better for everyone. What if we tried approaching it this way?" Notice how this approach invites collaboration rather than demanding compliance. The INFJ presents an idea and opens space for others to contribute, modify, or build upon it. This makes people feel like they're part of creating the solution, rather than just following orders. INFJs also lead by example in powerful ways. They demonstrate the values and behaviors they believe in, rather than just talking about them. If they think teamwork is important, they consistently show up as collaborative team members. If they value honesty, they model authentic communication even when it's difficult. This consistent alignment between their words and actions builds deep trust and respect. People notice when someone consistently does what they say they'll do and treats others with the respect and consideration they claim to value. The emotional intelligence advantage. One of the most significant factors in INFJ leadership is their high emotional intelligence. They're naturally skilled at reading emotional atmospheres, understanding what's really motivating people's behavior, and knowing how to communicate in ways that resonate with different personality types. In group situations, INFJs often serve as emotional translators. They can sense when there's tension brewing beneath the surface and address it before it explodes into conflict. They notice when someone's feeling left out or undervalued and find ways to bring them back into the fold. This emotional awareness extends to knowing how to motivate different people in different ways. They understand that what inspires one person might completely demotivate another, so they tailor their approach accordingly. The detail-oriented person gets specific, concrete feedback. The big-picture thinker gets connected to the larger vision. INFJs also excel at creating psychological safety, environments where people feel comfortable taking risks, sharing ideas, and admitting mistakes. They do this by being non-judgmental, showing genuine curiosity about others' perspectives, and responding to vulnerability with compassion rather than criticism. When people feel emotionally safe, they're more likely to contribute their best thinking, take initiative, and commit fully to group goals. This creates a positive cycle where the INFJ's leadership approach actually makes everyone else more effective, which reinforces their position as someone worth following. The long-term vision, thinking beyond the immediate. INFJs are natural systems thinkers who consider long-term implications and interconnections that others might miss. While many leaders focus on short-term results and quick wins, INFJs are constantly thinking about sustainability, unintended consequences, and how today's decisions will play out months or years down the line. This long-term perspective often leads them to advocate for approaches that might seem slower or more complex initially but create better outcomes over time. They're willing to invest more effort upfront if it means avoiding bigger problems later. For example, while others might push for a quick solution to meet a deadline, the INFJ might suggest taking a bit more time to involve all stakeholders in the decision-making process. This approach might delay the immediate timeline slightly, but it prevents the resistance, confusion, and implementation problems that often arise when people don't feel heard or included. People gradually learn to trust this longer-term thinking because they see how it pays off. Projects led with INFJ input tend to have fewer unexpected complications, better buy-in from team members, and more sustainable results. This track record makes others more willing to follow their lead, even when they don't immediately understand the reasoning. The authenticity factor, leading from the heart. One of the most powerful aspects of INFJ leadership is its authenticity. INFJs have a hard time being fake or putting on personas that don't align with their true values. This means that when they're in leadership situations, they're showing up as their genuine selves rather than trying to fit some predetermined leadership mold. This authenticity creates several advantages. First, it builds trust because people can sense when someone is being genuine versus when they're playing a role. There's something refreshing about interacting with someone who's clearly not trying to impress you or manipulate you. They're just being themselves. Second, authentic leadership gives others permission to be authentic too. When the person in a leadership role is comfortable being vulnerable, admitting what they don't know, and showing their genuine care for others, it creates space for everyone else to drop their professional masks and contribute more fully. Third, authenticity makes INFJ leadership more sustainable. They're not constantly exhausted from maintaining a facade or trying to be someone they're not. This allows them to stay consistent in their approach and maintain their effectiveness over long periods. However, this authenticity can also create challenges. INFJs sometimes struggle in environments that reward more traditional leadership styles or where being genuine is seen as weakness. They might doubt themselves when their quiet, thoughtful approach doesn't look like what they think leadership is supposed to look like. The problem-solving approach, seeing root causes. INFJs approach problems differently than many other personality types, and this difference often makes them natural go-to people when complex issues arise. While others might focus on symptoms or surface-level fixes, INFJs have a tendency to dig deeper and look for underlying patterns and root causes. This approach comes from their combination of intuitive thinking and their concern for long-term outcomes. They're not satisfied with band-aid solutions that might solve today's problem but create bigger issues tomorrow. Instead, they want to understand why problems are occurring and address the fundamental causes. In group settings, this often plays out as the INFJ asking questions that others haven't thought to ask. Why do you think this keeps happening? What patterns do we see here? What would need to change for this not to be a problem anymore? These questions help groups move beyond reactive problem-solving to more proactive, strategic thinking. People start to see the INFJ as someone who can help them understand complex situations and find more effective solutions. The INFJ's problem-solving approach also tends to consider multiple perspectives and stakeholders. They naturally think about how proposed solutions might affect different people and try to find approaches that work for everyone involved. This inclusive thinking often leads to more robust and sustainable solutions. The mentoring instinct, developing others. Many INFJs find themselves naturally falling into mentoring roles, even when they're not officially designated as mentors or supervisors. They have a genuine desire to help others grow and reach their potential, combined with the insight to see what people need to develop. This mentoring instinct often manifests as asking thoughtful questions that help people think through challenges for themselves, rather than just giving advice. An INFJ might say, "What do you think would happen if you tried this approach?" Or, "What would success look like to you in this situation?" This questioning approach helps people develop their own problem-solving skills and confidence, rather than creating dependency on the INFJ for answers. Over time, the people they've mentored become more capable and confident, but they often continue to value the INFJ's input and perspective. The INFJ's mentoring style also tends to be highly personalized. They pay attention to each person's unique strengths, challenges, and learning style, then adapt their approach accordingly. Some people need encouragement and confidence building. Others need gentle challenges to push them out of their comfort zones. This individualized attention makes people feel truly seen and valued, which creates strong loyalty and respect. It's not uncommon for people to say, "They believed in me when I didn't believe in myself," or "They helped me see possibilities I never would have considered." The collaboration champion, building consensus. Rather than making unilateral decisions or imposing their will on others, INFJs tend to be natural consensus builders who work to get everyone aligned around shared goals and approaches. They understand that buy-in is crucial for successful implementation and that people are more committed to decisions they've helped create. This collaborative approach often involves the INFJ serving as a facilitator who helps groups work through complex decisions together. They might guide discussions, ask clarifying questions, help people understand different perspectives, and work to find solutions that address everyone's core concerns. The INFJ's ability to understand different viewpoints and translate between different communication styles makes them particularly effective in this facilitator role. They can help the detail-oriented person communicate their concerns to the big-picture thinker, or help the logical analyzer understand the emotional factors that matter to the feeling-oriented team member. This consensus-building approach takes more time and energy than simply making executive decisions, but it often leads to better outcomes and stronger team cohesion. People feel heard and valued in the process, which makes them more likely to fully support the final decisions. The challenge of reluctant leadership. Despite their natural leadership abilities, many INFJs struggle with what psychologists call reluctant leadership. They find themselves in leadership roles they didn't seek and sometimes don't want, which can create internal conflict and stress. This reluctance often stems from their high standards for themselves and their deep sense of responsibility for others' well-being. They worry about making mistakes that could hurt others, doubt whether they're qualified to lead, and feel overwhelmed by the weight of responsibility. INFJs also tend to be perfectionists who see all the ways things could go wrong or be improved. This can make leadership feel daunting because they're acutely aware of all the challenges and complexities involved. Additionally, many INFJs struggle with the visibility that often comes with leadership roles. They prefer to work behind the scenes and can feel uncomfortable with the attention and scrutiny that leadership positions often attract. However, it's important to recognize that reluctance doesn't mean inability. Many of the most effective leaders throughout history have been reluctant leaders who rose to the occasion because they felt called to serve others, rather than because they craved power or recognition. The ripple effect, creating positive change. One of the most remarkable things about INFJ leadership is its ripple effect. Because they focus on developing others, creating positive environments, and addressing root causes rather than just symptoms, their influence often extends far beyond their immediate sphere. People who've been positively influenced by an INFJ often carry that influence forward in their own interactions and leadership opportunities. The mentoring, emotional support, and empowerment they received gets passed on to others, creating expanding circles of positive impact. This ripple effect is often invisible to the INFJ themselves. They might not realize how profoundly they've influenced someone's career path, personal growth, or approach to leadership. The quiet encouragement they offered or the insightful question they asked might have been a turning point for someone else. This is one reason why INFJ leadership can be so impactful even when it doesn't look like traditional leadership. They're not just getting immediate tasks accomplished, they're developing people and creating cultures that continue to generate positive outcomes long after their direct involvement. Embracing the leadership journey. For INFJs reading this who recognize themselves in these patterns, it's important to understand that leadership doesn't have to look like what you see in movies or business magazines. Your quiet, thoughtful, people-centered approach is not only valid but often more effective than more traditional leadership styles. The key is learning to embrace your natural abilities while also developing skills in areas that might not come as naturally. This might include getting more comfortable with conflict resolution, learning to communicate your vision more clearly, or developing systems for managing the energy drain that can come with supporting others. It's also important to recognize that you don't have to accept every leadership opportunity that comes your way. Part of effective leadership is knowing when to say yes and when to step back and let others lead. Trust your intuition about which situations align with your values and where you can make the most positive impact. Remember that your reluctance to lead doesn't make you less qualified. In many cases, it makes you more thoughtful and humble, which are valuable leadership qualities. The fact that you don't take leadership lightly means you're more likely to approach it responsibly and ethically. Conclusion. The phenomenon of INFJs becoming leaders despite not seeking leadership roles reveals something important about what effective leadership really looks like. It's not about being the loudest person in the room or having the most impressive credentials. It's about understanding people, seeing possibilities, inspiring others to be their best selves, and creating environments where everyone can contribute meaningfully. INFJs end up leading because they possess a rare combination of deep empathy, strategic thinking, authentic communication, and genuine concern for others' well-being. They don't lead through force or manipulation, but through influence, inspiration, and the natural magnetism that comes from consistently showing up as caring, insightful, and trustworthy individuals. This accidental leadership teaches us that some of the most powerful forms of influence happen quietly, behind the scenes, through one-on-one conversations, thoughtful questions, and the patient work of helping others see their own potential. It reminds us that leadership is ultimately about service to others, not self-promotion or power accumulation. For INFJs, understanding this pattern can help you make peace with your tendency to end up in leadership roles and embrace the unique gifts you bring to those positions. You don't have to become someone else to be an effective leader. Your thoughtful, caring, visionary approach is exactly what many situations need. And for everyone else, recognizing and valuing this quieter form of leadership can help create more inclusive and effective organizations and communities. The next time you notice someone who seems to naturally draw others toward their guidance without seeking the spotlight, pay attention. You might be witnessing the powerful phenomenon of INFJ leadership in action. The world needs leaders who lead with their hearts as much as their heads, who see people as whole human beings rather than just resources, and who are willing to do the patient work of creating positive change from the inside out. INFJs may not be trying to lead, but perhaps that's exactly why they're the leaders we need most.